Hello, it's Jim for the Monopoly Project. We're here on Val Vista Lakes on the Monopoly Project yacht. You can see it's kind of windy and choppy today, a little overcast. It's almost sunset. Of course, every successful real estate investor has a yacht, and we're on the Monopoly Project yacht. Unfortunately, it's the Bikini Girls' day off, so you just have me. So we're here to review, to do our floating book review, and today we have 5 books. So we're going to get to it right quickly. The 5 books are Succeeding by John T. Reed, Roma by Stephen Saylor, The Torrid Zone by Alaric Bond, How to Retire Overseas by Kathleen Peddicord, and a book that I don't have with me, Be My Guest by the Disney Corporation. So let's get right to it. Hello, it's Jim again on the Monopoly Project yacht for doing our floating book reviews. We're on Val Vista Lakes here. You can see it's getting near sunset. It's very choppy. It's cloudy and overcast here in Phoenix. It's the beginning of October. We're doing our book reviews, the books we read in September. So we're up to How to Retire Overseas. And this is a book by Kathleen Peddicord. And of course, she has done this for 30 years. She lived in Ireland. She lived in Costa Rica, I think, and a couple other places. So she speaks from experience. The book is very good. It's got a lot of practical advice. I'm sort of somewhat hesitant to recommend it in the sense for 2 reasons. One is that she has a website, and you can get almost all of this information on her website and basically every other website that talks about living overseas, retiring overseas, or even just living overseas, not necessarily retiring. So I spent a year overseas in Italy in 1985 to 1986. I was working in Torino in Italian, where Fiat is located for the with the Italian aerospace company Air Italia. It was then Air Italia. They've changed name, of course, 5 times by now. So I have some knowledge of what she talks about and the things you'll face in living overseas. And the obvious big one is culture. Is no matter how much you think that you can live in another culture, even one as relatively familiar as Italian, it is totally different, and the culture really is a big barrier. And in fact, when she talks about it, many or most of the people who retire overseas end up in, quote, American colonies, where it's all Americanized, and it's much less living in that environment. Of course, when I was living there, there were maybe 2 or 3 of us rotating from the United States, from TRW, giving advice, technical advice and help. So there wasn't really an American colony. And in fact, in Turin at that time, in the 80s, basically very few people spoke English. The younger people, younger by I mean 20s and 30s, they in general, if they were in a financial or technical field, they had some English. But the vast majority of the people actually living in the city, especially the older ones, didn't speak English. So I understand where she's coming from. I just want to make a couple comments about why would you want to live overseas, and the one that everybody immediately comes to is because it's so much less expensive. You can have a maid and a gardener and a butler and a driver and this and that, and I think there's some truth to that. The other is if you're an adventurer and you want to see the overseas, and of course that's a valid reason. But I think in general, living overseas, experiencing the culture barrier, and also in general, most of us all of our friends and family are here, and it's really hard to make that break. In fact, that's eventually why I came back. I spent a year there, and they offered to extend my tour, and I said no, because I miss my friends and I miss America, right? And American culture. And of course, I was only I was 30 something then. And so maybe I would have enjoyed it more had I been a little older and more mature. I certainly missed a lot of opportunities. But in any case, like I said, the information is good. I mean, if you want one book that has it all and you don't want to go searching around in websites and such, certainly get the book. It's not that expensive. and it's a one place. And of course, these books have a time value. What's true today may not have been true a year ago. So you got to continually update the book, and you got to continually update the information, because things change so quickly, especially in terms of relative safety of various countries. You can just see that obviously in what happened in Afghanistan. I'm sure there were a number of people in Americans in Afghanistan. I mean, certainly they weren't there to retire but they were there on various business, and the world changed overnight. And so I think you need to be careful of that and also factor that in. So in any case, like I said, the book How to Retire Overseas, if you want to do that, the book's a good concise summary. You don't have to go searching around. So that's the last of our book reviews for September. And we thank you, and we'll see you next month on our next floating book reviews for the Monopoly Project. Thank you. This is Jim, Captain Jim, signing off.